Hello again, everyone. We are back for the second session of our value sheet. We're going to learn about cross-hatching and stippling today. So you should already have your blending row and your hatching row done. We did that the last session. So today we're going to be doing the cross-hatching section first. So we're going to start over here at the end, the darkest value again. Hatching, when we did hatching, we had lines going one way. When we do cross hatching, we're going to have lines going two ways. So that's the only difference. Another way to show value in your artwork. So I'm going to start again with my lines going in one direction. Remember, this is our darkest square, so we are going to have a lot of pressure and a lot of lines. So you're just going to keep building them up. Remember, I would suggest you use a regular pencil rather than a mechanical pencil. Seems to go a lot easier, so you can get a lot more lead on the page at one time. Remember, for cross-hatching, you should see your lines, so you don't want it to be all blended together. All right, so we can see that we have lines going in two directions. We also need to make sure that if we are looking down our rows, that our darkest value in blending, our darkest value in hatching, and our darkest value in cross-hatching all are the same value. So now I'm going to go on to the next row, which is cross-hatching again, but we're going to apply a little less pressure. And this time, we want to make sure that it is just a little bit lighter than our last box. So we're just going to keep on going through this until we get the value above. All right, so we should see that this box is just a little lighter than the last box, and if we look down the rows, they should be about the same value. So we're just going to move on to the next one. Remember, less pressure. Lines going two ways because they're crossing over each other, which is why it's called cross-hatching. And I think I'm happy with that for right now, and then I'm just going to move on to the next one. Less pressure, I'm not applying very much pressure at all. Lines going one way, then lines going the other way. It is okay if you have some white space showing in these. That helps make it lighter. Pretty happy with that. And then the first box barely touching the paper at all. And it's going to be our lightest value. So there would be our cross-hatching row. So far we have our blending, our hatching, and our cross-hatching. Each one has its own look and looks very different. The next row will be stippling. So stippling is just using little dots to do our artwork, to create our value. So for our darkest section, we want to make sure that we're using a lot of pressure and we're making small little dots. And we're just going to keep on doing these little dots until we fill up the entire space and we don't have any white space showing. It takes a little bit of time. That's why I made this box so small for you, so you didn't have quite so much to do. So you're just going to keep on going and doing dots and dots and dots until you fill up the box. Make sure your dots don't look like circles. You don't want a bunch of O's in the box. You want them to be little tiny dots. You can also do this with a pen on another project, but for now I'd just like you to use pencil. All right, so we have got that one pretty dark, and it pretty much matches the rows above it. So now we're going to move to this one. A little less pressure. And we're going to fill this in until we get it to look a little bit lighter than the previous box. And we also remember we need it to look the same if we're going down, so you want to always check yourself. And we'll go on to move to the next one. Remember, less pressure. You might hear some tapping, and as you're tapping these dots on here, we'll move on to the next one, even less pressure, and you'll have more white space showing in here. And then less pressure over here, barely touching the page. And then if you need to go back over here and fix anything, you can do that. Sort of get them all where you need them to go. But when you're finished, you should see that they go as light as you can go to as dark as you can go, and this is just using dots, little dots. So for today, of course, we're doing this in pencil, but on another artwork, you could use these dots with a pen or even a marker, and that would be another way that you could achieve value with dots, with stippling. This is a great, actually, technique to use when you're using a marker or a pen, because you can't really use the blending when you're using a marker and a pen. So the stippling is a great way to do that. All right, guys, so for today, you should finish the cross-hatching and the stippling section. Take your time and do your best, and I will talk to you next time.